truth of the matter is that the environment is very much tensed in Imo State, in view of the fact that we have a very intolerant government, a government that has failed and that wants to perpetuate itself in power. And the only tool it now has to use to do that is to deploy the apparatus of states to mow down opposition elements, to gag the press, to arrest political dissent, and then also to try to intimidate the populace. So that is what we have in Imo State. And that has made the environment very much heated up, and that has made even people scared of electoral participation. For people to participate in election, they must be confident that not just that their votes will be counted and that their votes will count. As it stands now in Imo State, in view of the insecurity and this attendant implication on the psyche of the people, there will definitely be a low voter turnout. There will also definitely going to be an incursion into the electoral process through the use of militia. You know, over time, we have complained that there is a security outfit being operated by Governor Hope Uzodimma. Nobody knows the command structure of that security organization. Nobody knows his uniform. Nobody knows the personnel. All you hear about is that there's a Bubago, and the Bubago keeps on committing atrocities. You know about the 14 persons that were killed in Awamama from Otulu, and the community sources said they saw people who operated like a Bubago assassinating them, only for the governor to say that, oh, they are bandits, they are terrorists, they are this and that. These were wedding guests, people who accompanied their friend to a wedding ceremony. On their way back, they were rounded up and assassinated by a Bubago operatives. So all of these have all contributed to the tension you now have in Imo State. That's why as a political party, we have insisted that for us to have free and fair election in an atmosphere that people can be confident of the credibility of the exercise, a Bubago must be disbanded. That is the position of the opposition party in Imo State. Nobody can point to any law empowering a Bubago in Imo State. If there is any such law, it was never promulgated. It could have been possibly secretly cobbled together by the governor. Of course, you know, in his usual nature, he once even cobbled together a legislation that empowers him as governor to arbitrarily arrest and detain anybody, which in the language of the law, that the governor feels pleased with. That's at the pleasure of the governor. He can arrest any Imo citizen and imprison for as long as he pleases him. That is the kind of legislation that you have going on in Imo State. And they're almost always secretly done so that the public cannot be aware. Only for you to know about it when the governor arrests an innocent citizen and you want to challenge, they say there's a legislation empowering the governor to arrest and detain private citizens. That's where we have found ourselves in Imo State. But it's also very important to establish the background to what is happening in Imo State. First and foremost, we have an unelected governor in Imo State, somebody who never emerged through the ballots. He came into, of course, what all Nigerians know as Supreme Court imposition. That is why he has been called Supreme Court governor. He came forth in an election only for a judicial abracadabra to bring him in, and he's today the governor of Imo State. So there are ways he could have consolidated power. One was through service delivery. If you have a Governor Hope Uzodimma who has done well to win the heart of Imo people, you could have also achieved legitimacy through that. So having failed to perform and execute any tangible project that could win the heart of the people, he now resorts to violence, the use of state apparatus, the use of state machinery, the state resources, all the instruments of state power to intimidate more people and to cow them into submission. And as opposition party, we have told more people that this will be resisted and it will never happen. Let us get something very clear. If you want to create an organization or a ministry or an establishment, there should be legislation backing it. And the process of lawmaking, of course, is known to everybody. We have our members in the House of Assembly. Now, you could go behind and in view of the fact that we have been calling for the disbandment of Bubago, maybe in the last 48 hours, you could just do some paperwork only to claim that, oh, I have legitimately created something. I can tell you that the Bubago you're hearing is a militia force directly under the command of some operators within the government house. If it is a security organization that is supposed to work for Imo people, I should know about it. My people should know about it because intelligence gathering involves everybody. If they are working for me, I should help them with information about the happenings in my neighborhood. And at any rate, intelligence or security is a local affair. It's a very endogenous affair that involves, to a very large extent, the locals. the community people who provide you with intelligence. Now, what we know is that most of the people called Ebube security personnel are from River State. These are not even our people. They come on a hit operation and they leave as soon as they are done with that. And you are telling me that there's an establishment? No, it does not exist. What you have is a hatchet operation being carried out by some persons close to the governor. That's what is going on in Imo State. Everything I've spoken to you today is well known to Imo people. Remember, there was a time son-in-law to the former governor of Imo State, Senator Rochas Okorocha, was abducted from a church service in his village. Senator Hope Uzodimma came out to say that the so-called unknown gunmen in Imo State are in the government house of Imo State, and they are the Ebube you are hearing about. Remember that just 1 week ago, precisely last Saturday, the spokesperson of opposition coalition CUPP, and who is also the candidate of my party for Idato Federal Constituency, Ikenga Imo, was attacked. 3 persons murdered, about 32 vehicles bombed down, including his uncle, killed. And he escaped death by a whisker. And what did the governor do? He came out, oh, Kumbaya, I saw an agreement between Ikenga Imo and the unknown gunmen that elections will not hold. And Ikenga violated the agreement by proceeding with elections. And that's why the unknown gunmen attacked him. Can you imagine the kind of infantile explanation a governor of the state is giving about the attack on his own citizens? First and foremost, how could you allege that Ikenga Imo signed an agreement with some people that elections will not hold when over 3 years he has been in the electoral process? He's been aspiring to go to the federal house. The political organization that Ikenga Imo has was established like 3 years ago, which is Grassroots Development Forum in Idato Nation. And his billboards have been everywhere. He's been campaigning everywhere. For the past 10 months, he's been the candidate of my party. And for the past 2 years, he's been actively advocating for free and fair elections. All of a sudden, he was attacked. And the governor was even all smiles. He was so happy that his enemy has been attacked. That is why my party has taken a position that his comment has even strengthened our belief that the government knows something about the attack on Ikenga Imo. So this is what you have in Imo State, where the government even rejoices over some of these attacks. Last week, the governor celebrated his 3 years in office. And one of the comments he made right on the pulpit is that he is surprised that opposition elements in Imo State are not being attacked. You can imagine this kind of thing, that the people being attacked in Imo are mostly members of his party. So he's even encouraging the so-called unknown government to go after his enemies. And he's even regretting that all of us in the opposition have not been wiped out from the surface of the earth. What kind of governor is that? In the last 5 months, Ikenga Imo has been onto an issue. And that issue is about the massive compromise of the 2023 voter register by some elements. That is a fact, which people now call the Omuma magic. Strange names, some from China, some from Bangladesh, some from Indonesia, were imported into the voter register, particularly in the ward of the state governor of Imo State, Omuma. That Omuma ward alone recorded more number of votes than an entire LGA. Remember that Omuma, where the governor comes from, is one of the hotbeds of insecurity in Imo State. Remember that people have all deserted Omuma through the period of the registration. What magic could have led to the inflation of the figures of the voter registration in Omuma to the tune of almost the total number of registrations in my local government? We are talking about a particular ward. So it was the Imo that exposed this fraud. Immediately he did that, the state government came after him. An aide to the governor, who is an aide to Governor of Special Duties, China Sawaneri, called Ikenga Imo on the phone and was threatening him that whenever he will be cited in Imo State, he will be dealt with decisively. Ikenga Imo came into Imo State on the 23rd of December, 2022. His convoy was ambushed and attacked, and even some vehicles snatched away, including one carrying a pregnant woman. When the threat came, of course, Ikenga Imo made it public. The telephone conversation, everything was made public, and he wrote a strong-worded petition to the IG of police and all the security establishments in Nigeria. We took a very proactive to stop them from carrying out the threats. And even when the attack itself came on the 23rd of December, 2022, he also wrote a petition to these bodies. But to our chagrin, nothing was done. Eventually, last Saturday, the wars happened, and people were slaughtered like rams, vehicles were burnt, buildings were leveled to the ground with explosives in Akko or not. So who do you now blame for that? Who to you is culpable over this? And another shock is that the security agencies in Imo State have told us almost nothing about this situation. They have allowed the governor to feed the people for his massive buffet of lies. There is no incident that occurs in Imo State that Hope Uzodinma does not use as a tool for political vendetta. That's what he does. For instance, an INEC office could be attacked by whosoever. The governor owes the people the responsibility to protect lives and property. He would not allow the security agencies to do their work. He will be the first that will truncate and foul up the media space and start saying that opposition elements attack politically contrived. This same state he's governing today. I'm coming. This same state Senator Hope Uzodinma is governing today. My party was in power just in the recent past, in the last 7 months. For 7 months, we never witnessed unknown gunmen. Imo was the most peaceful entity in the whole of the country. As a matter of fact, we took deliberate steps to ensure that we return governance to the grassroots by granting thoroughgoing autonomy to the local government system. Imo people began to participate in the process of governance, and nobody talked about attacking anybody. In the recent past, the leaders of our party have been targeted for elimination by the APC regime in Imo State. This is a fact. You will see agents of the governor. You will see appointees of the governor. You see well-known henchmen of the governor staging protests in Owerri, calling for the arrest of His Excellency, the Right Honorable Meki Hedioha over insecurity, calling for the arrest of Right Honorable Uche Onyagocha, calling for the arrest of Right Honorable Gerald Ironna. These are the leaders of our party. Now, you don't have any evidence that they're involved in insecurity or they are sponsoring or masterminding insecurity. No. But you now use it as a tool for political vendetta. That since there's insecurity, let us blame it on the opposition. When you do such a thing, you are setting the stage for the elimination of these leaders. So whatever that happens to them, the governor of Imo State should be held squarely responsible for that. In the recent past now, we've seen the attacks that our candidates for Ohanje Bema, Oru West, and Oguta Federal Constituency, Right Honorable Jukin Selechima, is facing. They are contriving right now to see how they can recruit some bandits and parade and say, oh, he's the one sponsoring them. That's what we are witnessing in Imo State. We have held series of press conferences as the leading opposition party in Imo State, pointing out ways of addressing the security challenges in Imo State, whether through kinetic or non-kinetic approach. We have been very upfront with the media, engaging with stakeholders, profiling solutions. But we have a governor who sees it as his hobby to always pin the blame on us. We have consistently condemned any kind of breach in security, any kind of attack on Imo citizens. As a matter of fact, there are some persons in Imo that have been killed that we have insisted that the governor should produce their killers. Somebody like Noel Chibu was assassinated. Just a shawarma vendor that came out from his shop was murdered by so-called security personnel in Imo State. A student, Divine, a one-year Divine, was murdered in front of government house. Our party took steps to give justice to the family. But you know, in all of these things, the governor never commiserates with anybody. He never visits the families of the bereaved, and he never in any way shows remorse. The commissioner for information in Imo State even went on air on Ozisa FM and was now saying that, oh, you know, when there is insecurity, there will be panic in the land, and security agents might be in panic mode, and they could have killed people out of panic. That is how they defend the murder of our fellow citizens in Imo State by security agencies. People in power cannot do their job, and they cannot accept that they cannot do their job, and they're not looking for who to blame for not doing their job. If, for instance, you came into office as governor of Imo State, and the first thing you undertook was to dismantle the community leadership structures simply because you feel they are not loyal to you. In all communities in Imo State today, Senator Hope Uzodinma has parallel town union leaderships. One is the authentic leadership of the town union constituted by the people. Second is that constituted by his agents in APC. That was how he disconnected himself from the locals. That was how he got bifurcated from the process of knowing what was going on in the grassroots. So you disconnected yourself from the critical stakeholders that have been issued. Second, you want to engage stakeholders in the process of peace building or in the process of addressing insecurity. And you will first accuse some critical stakeholders like opposition leaders of masterminding insecurity, and you want them to come together in your house to solve the same problem. You have publicly criticized them or condemned them or accused them of masterminding. Can you now begin to understand how the governor has nailed himself? So there is no how you can tell. We are only more people. We want peace in Imo. But you can't come out and say, oh, Collins or Prozo is the one masterminding banditry and terrorism. And you call a meeting and say, oh, Collins, you know you're a critical stakeholder. Come, let us solve banditry and terrorism. I will ask you to charge me to court. Prove first that I'm the mastermind. When I'm absolved of all the guilt and allegations, I can now come out and discuss with you. When you come out and say, oh, Emeki Hedioha is sponsoring insecurity, Emeki Hedioha that Nigeria knows, somebody who has been deputy speaker, somebody who has been acting speaker, somebody who has been governor, that people know that does not even have knockout in his house, that abhors violence by all. In fact, Emeki Hedioha is one of the persons I've seen in politics who, if you cannot bring ideas to the table, I cannot solve problems in a creative way. He doesn't even have the patience of listening to you. And you tell us that he has his masterminding insecurity. You tell us that an activist like Onya Gocha, who all his life has spoken for people who cannot speak for themselves, is masterminding insecurity. You tell us that a leader par excellence in our zone, Gerard Irona, is masterminding insecurity. And you want us to believe you. So what he's doing is that it's a tool for political vendetta, as I've told you. He uses insecurity to demarket his perceived political foes. As a matter of fact, there is no other weapon currently that Senator Hope Uzodimma has going into the election. The only weapon he has is to try as much as possible to frame opposition leaders, to see if he can take so many of us out of circulation so that he can as well rig himself back to power. That is the only tool he has. Because in terms of performance, I can tell you that the governor is a colossal and unmitigated failure. Before Uzodimma came as governor, we had governors. How come we are never hearing about these things when other people were governors? Rochas Okorocha was governor for 8 years. We never heard about unknown government. We never heard. The much we could hear about in that time was maybe once in a while, one person might be abducted just for ransom taking, and that will be resolved. And maybe in most cases, the kidnappers will be caught and prosecuted. But now, 70% of Imo territory is heavily under the occupation of bandits, terrorists, unknown government, secessionists, and whatever you call them. And there is a governor there who does not bother about how to provide security for lives and property in Imo State. All he cares about is how to frame opposition leaders using the unfortunate security situation. So the bad politics you see about this insecurity and the bloody politics you are talking about has been brought into Imo State through the illegitimacy of the man who is there, who feels that it's by intimidating all of us that he can perpetuate self in power. We called for state of emergency in Imo State because the situation has gotten out of hand. I told you earlier that 70% of Imo territory today cannot be assessed. Yes, you cannot, I'm saying this authoritatively, you cannot hold any political activity in the entire Okigwe senatorial zone. You cannot hold any political activity in the entire Olu zone. Olu zone is 12 local governments, almost half of Imo territory. Okigwe zone is 6 local governments. The only place you can have a figment, you can just have a skeletal political activity, is in Owerri here, the capital city. So what do you make of it? It means that the extant political leadership in Imo has failed. And beyond the failure of the extant political leadership is the fact that those who are even in authority now want to profit by the insecurity. They have lost every sense of direction. They have lost every sense of responsibility. That they now feel that, oh, it's fun, it's business, it's politics. So in view of that, we called for state of emergency for the sake of our lives and the property of Imo people.
All right, are you still there with me? Hello, Mr. Collins, are you still there?
Yes, I'm with you.
Oh,
yes, I'm here.
Move away from politics. Let's talk about the economic situations in Imo State. All right. For investors and those who may want to invest in the state, what can be the effect of the daily news of killings and attacks on such investors? Can you hear me?
I didn't get the question.
I said let's move.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I didn't get the question.
I said let's move away from politics. Let's also talk about the economic situation in Imo State. For investors and for Imolites who may want to invest in the state, what can be the effect of these daily news of killings and attacks on such an investor? Can you hear me?
Okay, if I got your question, you are asking about the implications of the insecurity on investment.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, this should that between 2020 that Senator Hope Uzodinma became governor and now, Imo State has been totally comatose. There has been this economic inertia. No investor comes to Imo State. And you can see this from all the statistics released by the relevant rating boards. For instance, in terms of inflow of FDI, Imo State has attracted zero. When I talk about zero, Imo State has not attracted $1, 1 cent ever since Hope Uzodinma became governor in terms of FDI. Then you talk even in terms of startups of businesses. In the whole of Olu Zone, as I told you before, Olu Zone has 12 local governments. There is no bank functional today. There is no bank. All the banks have shut down and left the zone. In the whole of Olu Zone today, there is no economic activity going on. All the old businesses have even vacated Olu, and new ones cannot even start up, let alone thriving. That is what insecurity has caused. That is why we are feeling that the inability of Senator Hope Uzodinma to prioritize security and genuinely bring to bear effort to address insecurity is the highest cruelty he has shown to Imo State and the highest brutalization of Imo economy. So the implication is very enormous. For instance, before Uzodinma came in, the real estate sector was thriving in Owerri here. I can tell you that the real estate sector is dead in Imo State. No investment in that sector. So across board. But what also has happened is that Senator Hope Uzodinma, realizing his handicap, has also tried benefiting from the extant insecurity, even in the economic sector. For instance, he established a ministry for foreign and international affairs. The mandate of that ministry for foreign and international affairs is to attract or to show up the FDI, that the foreign direct investment profile of Imo State. In the first year that he established that ministry, the ministry got a total of 1.2 billion naira chasing after FDI, and they ended up getting zero. In the second year, the ministry got 900 million naira chasing after FDI and ended up getting zero. So what did he do with such humongous amount budgeted for, allocated to getting foreign direct investment? Yet, not even one kobo came into Imo State. Check the statistics, it's there, MBS. So that is the situation we have found ourselves in. No matter how much insecurity orchestrated by those in authority, Imo people will come out, they exercise their franchise and choose the leaders they want. But in terms of our preparedness, we did not start preparing today. The greatest preparedness any party can bring on board is service delivery while in power. When PDP was in power in Imo State, we won the hearts of Imo people.